Rain slanted across the empty park at dusk. Michael Carter, grease still under his nails from a 12-hour shift, steadied Emily's bike as she pedaled through puddles. Beneath a wind-blown awning, Isabella Sterling sat motionless in her wheelchair, one caster wedged in a storm grate, rain soaking her lap. Michael didn't hesitate. He shrugged off his jacket, knelt beside the wheel, and freed it with practiced hands. Emily dug through her backpack, producing a cartoon bandage. "For the wheel," she said solemnly. Isabella's eyes flickered pride-wrestling gratitude. A passing jogger muttered about those people. Michael ignored him. Isabella didn't. The rain softened. 3 silhouettes merged in twilight. When worlds collide and prejudice threatens love, can an ordinary man's courage protect without controlling? Stay with us for a story that proves dignity belongs to everyone. Michael's alarm buzzed at 5:30 a.m. In their cramped apartment above the bodega, he moved through practiced ritual. Coffee brewing, lunch notes tucked into Emily's dinosaur lunchbox, a kiss to the photo on the mantel, Sarah, forever 29, forever smiling. The fridge door held a mosaic of bills, Emily's drawings, and a budget scrawled on an envelope back. Every dollar accounted for, every choice weighed. "Dad, my shoes are getting tight again," Emily said over cereal, wiggling her toes through a split seam. "We'll check the thrift shop Saturday," Michael replied, ruffling her hair. "Bet we find light-up ones." She grinned, but he caught her glancing at the photo. 3 years since the accident, and some mornings still felt like drowning in reverse, breaking the surface only to find yourself in the same empty room. Across the city, Isabella Sterling's morning unfolded with choreographed precision. The elevator in the Sterling mansion had been retrofitted with lower controls. The marble floors polished, but never waxed traction mattered. Helen Ward supervised the staff with military efficiency, ensuring every threshold had its ramp, every surface its reach. Isabella transferred from bed to chair with fluid strength, shoulder muscles defined from years of this routine. In the mirror, she applied lipstick with surgical precision. Armor, she'd learned, came in many forms. "Your father's already in his office," Helen reported, adjusting a vase of white orchids. "The Whitmore Foundation Gala is Thursday." "Another parade," Isabella murmured. She wheeled past the wall of photographs herself at 14 in point shoes, frozen mid-leap. Another life, another girl who believed she could fly. Lily Chen arrived at 9 sharp, PT bag in hand. "Range of motion first, then we'll work on the new transfer technique." "I've been practicing," Isabella said, rolling her shoulders. "The momentum pivot you showed me." Lily smiled. "Good. Independence isn't given, it's taken." The Sterling fortune had been built on commercial real estate, Richard Sterling's empire spanning 3 states. But money couldn't buy what Isabella craved, most someone who looked at her without seeing the chair first, without that flash of pity or performative compassion that made her feel like a charity case in her own life. She'd tried dating within her circle. Harvard MBA types who said the right things but flinched at curb cuts, who planned dinners at restaurants with steps, who touched her chair without asking, as if it were furniture instead of extension of her body. Meanwhile, Michael dropped Emily at school, her backpack bouncing as she ran toward the entrance. Mr. Alvarez waved from the doorway. "How's the job search?" 3 interviews this week, Michael called back. Machine shop on Riverside might work out. It was a lie wrapped in hope. The shop had already chosen someone younger, someone without school pickup constraints. But Emily didn't need that weight. She carried enough the careful way she never asked for name brands, how she'd learned to say "I'm not hungry" when she was, saving her lunch money in a pickle jar for emergencies. That afternoon, Michael picked up handyman shifts through TaskRabbit, $40 to fix a running toilet, $60 to mount a television. His hands, which had once rebuilt entire engines, now patched and mended other people's minor inconveniences. Pride was a luxury he couldn't afford. Isabella attended a board meeting via video, her camera angled to show only shoulders up, not hiding the chair, but controlling the narrative. She proposed an accessibility audit for all Sterling properties. The board hemmed and hawed about costs. "It's not charity," she said, voice sharp as winter. "It's market expansion. 1 in 4 Americans has a disability. Do the math." They voted yes, but she saw their expressions humoring the boss's daughter, playing along. That evening, both watched the rain from different windows. Michael helped Emily with fractions at their wobbly kitchen table, turning problems into stories about sharing pizza. Isabella sat in her study, architectural plans spread across an adjustable drafting table, designing ramps that looked like art. Neither knew the other existed beyond that brief moment in the park. But the universe was already threading their paths together, pulling tight, invisible strings that would soon make them inseparable. The call came Thursday morning through the TaskRabbit app. Sterling residence, electrical issue. Urgent. The address made Michael whistle low. Riverside Heights, where houses had names and gates had intercoms. "Can I come?" Emily asked after school. "My homework's done." Michael hesitated. These wealthy clients could be particular about children. But Emily's hopeful face won. Best behavior. "Bring your sketchbook." The Sterling mansion rose like a white monument against manicured gardens. Helen answered the door, her expression neutral until she saw Emily. Something softened infinitesimally. The circuit breaker panel. Third floor. Miss Isabella's equipment keeps tripping the safety. "Equipment?" Michael asked, toolbox in hand. "Accessible technology workspace. Rather specialized." They climbed a curved staircase, Emily's eyes wide at oil paintings larger than their apartment wall. On the third floor, Isabella's voice carried from behind a door. "Not a software issue, Lily. The whole system's cycling off." Michael cocked. "Maintenance, ma'am." The door opened to reveal a remarkable space drafting tables at varied heights, monitors on adjustable arms, a 3D printer humming in the corner. Isabella sat at the center, hair pulled back, wearing a MIT sweatshirt. Recognition flickered. "Park guy," she said. "Wheel repair specialist," Michael replied, surprising himself with the ease of it. Emily peeked around him. "You have a robot." Isabella's laugh came unexpectedly. "Several, actually. Want to see?" While Emily explored under Isabella's watchful guidance. "Don't touch the red buttons," Michael traced the electrical problem. "Too many devices on one circuit, an easy fix with load balancing." "Your daughter's sketching my chair," Isabella observed. "Most kids stare." Emily's not most kids. Michael separated wires carefully. She knows bodies come in all configurations. Her mom used to say diversity's just God showing off. Used to? 3 years ago. Drunk driver. Isabella's hand moved toward him, stopped. "I'm sorry." "Me too." He refocused on the panel. "There, try your system now." Everything hummed to life. Isabella pulled up her architectural program, blueprints cascading across screens. "You saved tomorrow's presentation. Just redistributed the load. Though you might want to upgrade the panel. This house is older than modern equipment demands." "Like me at the gala tonight," Isabella muttered, then caught herself. "Sorry." Internal dialogue escaped. Emily looked up from her sketch. "You don't like parties?" "I don't like performing happiness," Isabella said, then seemed surprised by her own honesty. Helen appeared with lemonade and, remarkably, cookies. Emily took one gratefully. Michael declined, professional boundaries intact. "Your payment," Isabella said, pulling up the app, "plus tip." Michael saw the amount double his rate. "That's too much." "It's what the work's worth." "No, it's what you think I need. There's a difference." He adjusted it to the standard rate. Fair wages for fair work. Isabella studied him. Most people grabbed whatever she offered, especially when they saw the chair, as if her disability made her money worth less, easier to take. "You're unusual." "You're direct," he countered. Lily arrived then, medical bag in hand. Isabella, ready for She took in the scene. Emily showing Isabella her sketches, Michael packing tools with methodical care, something unspoken charging the air. "We should go," Michael said. "Let you get ready for your event." The Whitmore Gala, Isabella sighed. Another night of inspiration porn. So brave, still contributing despite. She gestured at her chair. "Despite having more talent and business sense than anyone else there," Michael finished. Isabella's eyes sharpened. Exactly. As they left, Emily tugged Michael's sleeve. "Can we visit again?" "That's not how work happens, Em." But Isabella heard. "Actually, I've been meaning to upgrade several systems. If you're interested in regular consulting." Michael knew charity when he heard it. But something in Isabella's expression suggested more genuine interest, maybe loneliness. "I'll think about it." Outside, Emily was quiet until they reached the truck. She's sad like you, Dad. What makes you say that? She smiles the same way, like she's practicing. Michael had no answer for that wisdom. As they drove home, he couldn't shake the image of Isabella surrounded by all that space, all that technology, building bridges on screens that she couldn't cross in life. That night, while Isabella sat through another gala, Damien Cross hovering too close, making jokes about rolling with the punches, she thought about the mechanic who'd fixed more than her electrical panel. He looked at her. Not through her, not past the chair, not with that glazed politeness she knew so well, just looked. The Sterling systems didn't actually need upgrading. Isabella invented problems. Michael solved them. Neither acknowledged the pretense. The smart home hub's lagging. Isabella announced the third visit. Emily now a regular companion with homework spread on Isabella's drafting table. Michael examined the perfectly functional system. Might be network traffic. Have you tried? He explained a solution to a non-problem while Isabella pretended to take notes. You're both terrible actors, Emily said without looking up from her math. Just say you want to be friends. The adults exchanged mortified looks. Then Isabella laughed, really laughed, not the practice sound from galas. Your daughter's a truth terrorist. Gets it from her mom, Michael said, then surprised himself by adding, Sarah would have liked you. She collected honest people. Over the weeks, their dance evolved. Michael custom-modified a desk handle for Isabella's chair, better grip, less strain. Isabella taught Emily CAD software, projects spiraling into elaborate digital castles. Helen began leaving extra sandwiches by accident. Lily observed with careful optimism. One Thursday, they ventured out. Isabella needed specific drafting supplies, and the specialty shop had forgotten accessibility existed. 3 steps, no ramp. I'll get what you need, Michael offered. Number, Isabella's jaw set. I choose my own tools. Michael surveyed the entrance, then began moving a sidewalk bench. Emily, grab that plywood from the truck. In 10 minutes, he'd improvised a ramp, ugly but functional. The shop owner sputtered about liability. Isabella rolled past him. Send your concerns to Sterling Legal. I'll be 10 minutes. Inside, she selected her supplies with focus, but Michael caught her hands trembling slightly. Outside, she stopped. I'm not a project to fix. I know. Do you? Because sometimes people see the chair and think, I see an architect who designs buildings that everyone can enter. I see someone teaching my daughter that limits are just design problems. I see. He stopped, aware of Emily listening. What? Isabella's voice softened. Someone I want to keep knowing. Lily arrived for PT that afternoon, finding them collaborating on Emily's science project, a working drawbridge with wheelchair-accessible pedestrian lanes. Don't hurt her, Lily said quietly to Michael, while Isabella helped Emily with measurements. Which one? Either, both. Isabella's been burned by savior types and poverty tourists. Michael's face darkened. I've been poor my whole life. It's not a zoo exhibit. Good. Then you know the difference between solidarity and charity. I know she doesn't need saving. Maybe he watched Isabella teaching Emily about load distribution. Maybe we're saving each other. Lily studied him. She has nightmares about the accident 5 years ago, but some nights, Emily has them too, about the hospital, finding out her mom didn't. They stood in shared understanding. Grief, like disability, wasn't something you fixed. You just learned to carry it with grace. That evening, Isabella suggested dinner. There's a place with level entry, movable tables. If you're free? Michael checked his phone. Another shift at the warehouse. $60 he needed. I can't tonight. Isabella recognized the look obligation versus desire. Another time. But Emily, beautiful, brave Emily, said, Dad works at the warehouse Thursdays till midnight. Isabella connected dots, the afternoon visits, scheduled around evening shifts. Michael's careful energy conservation, the way he counted bills before buying Emily ice cream. I have a project proposal, she said carefully. Consulting on accessibility modifications for Sterling properties. Real work, not charity. Market rate. Flexible hours. Michael's pride warred with pragmatism. I'm not an architect. No, you're someone who understands practical solutions. Do you know how many buildings have ramps that don't work in rain? Automatic doors that close too fast? You see problems differently. Because of Sarah, he said quietly. Those last months, she needed a chair. Temporary, we thought, but I learned. I learned how the world shrinks when you can't enter it. Isabella's hand found his. First time she'd initiated touch. Then you understand. Help me expand it again. Michael looked at their joined hands, his calloused, hers surprisingly strong. Okay, but we do this right. Contracts, boundaries. And he glanced at Emily, absorbed in her sketch. We're careful. She's been through enough. We all have, Isabella said. Maybe that's why this works. That night, Michael called to cancel his warehouse shift. For the first time in 3 years, something mattered more than the next dollar. At the restaurant, Emily chattered about school while Isabella and Michael found themselves communicating in glances, whole conversations in the space between words. When Isabella excused herself to the bathroom, Emily leaned over. The porch light's on, Dad. What? In her eyes. When she looks at you, the porch light's on. Michael thought about Sarah's words, the promise extracted in those final hours. Find someone who turns the lights back on, Michael. Don't you dare go dark on our girl. Isabella returned, navigating the narrow aisle with practiced precision. Dessert? Always, Emily declared. Michael watched them debate chocolate versus vanilla, Isabella treating Emily's opinions with complete seriousness. Maybe Sarah was right. Maybe light could return, different but no less warm. Saturday morning PT sessions became a ritual. Michael and Emily arrived early, Emily spreading homework, while Michael learned the rhythm of Isabella's needs without overstepping. Transfer practice, Lily announced. Car to chair. Isabella positioned herself at the modified car door. The movement required precise momentum, upper body strength, defying gravity. Michael stood nearby, not helping, just present. Spot me? Isabella asked. Consent explicit, boundaries clear. Michael positioned himself as Lily directed, ready to assist, not control. Isabella pushed up, pivoted, landed smoothly. Your turn, Emily. From the high stool. Emily mimicked the motion, obviously healthy but learning body mechanics, spatial awareness. It's like physics. Everything is, Isabella said. Mass, momentum, angles. Later, while Lily worked on range of motion, Emily asked, Did dancing feel like flying? Isabella's hands stilled. How did you... The photos, downstairs. Michael started to redirect, but Isabella shook her head. Yes, like gravity was optional. Now, she executed a perfect chair pivot, spinning Emily into giggles. Now I fly differently. That afternoon, thunderstorms canceled Emily's soccer practice. They congregated in Isabella's study, rain-drumming windows. Emily discovered a music box in need of repair, a dancer frozen mid-pirouette, mechanism seized. From before, Isabella said simply. Michael examined the gears with jeweler's precision. Fixable, but he showed Emily the worn teeth. See? Sometimes repair means accepting the change. It'll play slower. Different music, Emily said. Not worse. Isabella watched Michael's hands coax movement from frozen metal, patient and certain. You could have been an engineer. Could have been lots of things. But Emily needed certainty more than possibility. Do you regret it? Michael aligned tiny gears. Regret's expensive. I budget carefully. The music box stuttered to life, same melody, slower tempo, but somehow sweeter for the imperfection. The dancer turned lazily, dreamily, released from the tyranny of proper time. Dad, show Isabella your notebook, Emily said suddenly. The invention one. His ideas for making things work better, Emily explained to Isabella. He draws them at night. Reluctantly, Michael produced a battered notebook. Pages of sketches, tools adapted for different grips, car modifications, kitchen devices, all dated from Sarah's illness forward. Isabella traced a design for a reacher that could adjust angles. These are brilliant. They're just thoughts. No, they're solutions, Michael. She looked up. You see the world as fixable. Not everything. His eyes went to Sarah's photo on his phone screen. Isabella's hand covered his. Not everything. Helen interrupted with tea, her expression softer these days. She'd started humming while working, Irish ballads that made the mansion feel lived in. Miss Isabella's eating again, she told Michael privately. proper meals. Haven't seen that in months. That evening, golden light slanted through windows. Emily had fallen asleep on the couch, geography textbook open on her chest. Isabella and Michael sat close, ostensibly reviewing building codes, but really just being. "Tell me about Sarah," Isabella said. Michael tensed, then relaxed. She was loud, gloriously loud. Laughed at her own jokes, sang off-key, fought strangers in grocery stores about politics. He smiled. "I was the quiet one. She said I was her volume control. She was my amplifier. You loved her very much. I loved who I was with her, brave enough to matter." Isabella shifted closer. "You matter now. It's different. With Emily, I matter by default. But choosing to matter to someone new." He looked at her. Terrifying. "I know." Isabella's voice dropped. "After the accident, I rebuilt everything. Independence, career, boundaries. But not this. Whatever this island, what is this?" Isabella considered. "A chance to matter by choice instead of circumstance?" Michael turned toward her fully. "You matter to me, by choice, deliberately." The words hung between them, precious and dangerous. Then Emily stirred, mumbled about possums, and the spell broke into comfortable laughter. But something had shifted, tectonic and permanent. When they left, Isabella watched from the window as Michael buckled Emily into their ancient truck. He looked back, caught her watching, raised his hand. She pressed her palm to the glass. The gesture felt like a promise. Later, Richard Sterling found his daughter in the garden, examining moonflowers that only bloomed at night. "You're different," he said. "Yes. This mechanic, Michael. His name is Michael." Richard absorbed the correction. "He's not our kind." Isabella turned, steel in her spine. "Neither am I anymore, Dad. Haven't you noticed?" Richard saw then not the chair, but the change it represented. His daughter had been forced to leave one world and build another. Maybe Michael wasn't entering her world. Maybe she was finally leaving it. "Be careful," was all he said. "Too late," Isabella replied, but she was smiling. That night, Michael found Emily drawing at the kitchen table. The picture showed 3 figures holding hands, wheels, and feet together under a bright porch light. "For Isabella," Emily explained. "So she knows." "Knows what?" "That there's room." Michael tucked his daughter in, then sat with the drawing. 3 figures where once there were 2. Room, yes, but also risk. Sarah's voice echoed, "Don't go dark, Michael." He picked up his phone, texted Isabella, "Emily made you something. Breakfast tomorrow?" The response came immediately, "Yes, to breakfast, to tomorrow, to all of it." Michael smiled, turned off the kitchen light, but the porch light that stayed on. The Whitmore Foundation's quarterly board meeting brought sharks to the Sterling waters. Damian Cross arrived early, Italian suit sharp enough to cut, smile practiced in mirrors. "Isabella, darling." He kissed air near her cheek. "You look well rested. New therapy?" "Something like that." Isabella wheeled past him toward the boardroom. "I heard you've been socializing below your tax bracket," Damian continued, matching her pace uninvited. "Some mechanic? How? Authentic." Isabella stopped. "His name is Michael Carter. He's consulting on accessibility modifications." Of course, he Island Damian's laugh slithered. "Does he know about the prenup protocols? Or is he still in the honeymoon phase where he thinks love conquers balance sheets?" Richard Sterling entered then, followed by board members. "Damian, Isabella, shall we begin?" The meeting proceeded with typical friction budgets, projections, acquisitions. Then Damian presented his efficiency initiative. Isabella studied the numbers, something nagging. "These vendor contracts," she said. 3 new HVAC companies, all registered last month. "Competitive bidding," Damian said smoothly. "Better rates." But Michael had taught her about mechanical systems, how parts had serial numbers, service histories. These bids were too clean, too similar. She made a note to investigate. After the meeting, Richard cornered her. "This Michael situation. Not a situation. A relationship. He fixes things, Isabella. You're not broken." The words landed like a slap. "No? Then why does everyone act like I am?" "That's not, isn't it?" Every introduction starts with, "before her accident." Every achievement gets qualified with, "despite her limitations." You look at me and see something that needs protecting. I I see my daughter. You see a liability. Michael sees me. Just me. Meanwhile, at Jefferson Elementary, Emily faced her own battle. Madison Sterling, a second cousin twice removed but close enough to matter, had heard family gossip. "My mom says your dad's a gold digger," Madison announced at lunch, loud enough for the cafeteria to hear. Emily's sandwich turned to cardboard in her mouth. "Take it back. He fixes toilets. Now he's dating a Sterling? Do the math." Emily stood, trembling. "My dad works harder than anyone. He's not digging for anything except maybe dignity for people like you who don't deserve it." Madison shoved Emily's tray. Chocolate milk exploded across her only clean shirt. "Mr. Alvarez appeared instantly. "Madison, principal's office. Emily, come with me." In his classroom, Mr. Alvarez offered paper towels and perspective. "You know what's true, Emily. That matters more than what people say. But they're saying it about Dad. He would never." "I know. Anyone who sees you two together knows. But jealousy makes people cruel. It's not fair." "No," Mr. Alvarez agreed. "But your dad's raising you to respond to unfairness with grace. That's harder than fighting." Emily went home in a borrowed shirt, telling Michael she'd spilled at art class. But he saw the hurt she carried, the way she pushed food around her dinner plate. "Rough day? Do you love Isabella?" Emily asked suddenly. Michael set down his fork. "Where's this coming from?" Do you?" "I think I'm starting to. Is that okay?" "Madison Sterling says you're after money." Michael's face went through several changes: anger, hurt, resignation. "Some people will always think that, Em. When you cross certain lines, people need reasons that make them comfortable. But we don't need their money. We're fine." Michael pulled her close. "We're more than fine. We're choosing to care about someone, and she's choosing us back. That's wealth Madison Sterling can't count." That evening, a Sterling company party required Isabella's attendance. Michael wasn't invited employees only. Damien had insisted, but his absence felt pointed. Damien circulated, dropping comments like poison. "Such a generous heart, Isabella, taking in strays. And does he even own a suit? And worse, must be nice for his daughter, finally seeing how the other half lives." Isabella endured until Damien cornered her during cocktails. "You know this ends badly, right? He'll either take a payoff or hang on until the prenup negotiations. Men like that, men like what?" Isabella's voice could have frozen flame. "Opportunists. They see weakness, and the only weakness here is your imagination, Damien. And your accounting." She held up her phone, showing discrepancies she'd found. "These vendor companies have interesting registration addresses. All the same P.O. box." Damien's mask slipped for just a moment, a flash of something dangerous. Then the smile returned. "Careful, Isabella. Accusations need proof and credibility." His eyes went to her chair. "Some battles you can't win from that position." He walked away, leaving Isabella shaking with rage. Around her, the party continued, oblivious. She texted Michael, "Need to hear your voice." He called immediately. "What's wrong?" "Everything. Nothing. I hate this world sometimes." "Where are you?" "Sterling Tower, 43rd floor. Be there in 30. "Michael, you can't. There's security. I fix their systems every month. 30 minutes. He arrived in 28, work clothes and stubble, carrying a toolbox for cover. Security waved him through. "Another emergency, Mike?" "Always Island." He found Isabella on a balcony, city lights glittering below. "You came. You called." She turned, tears threatening. "Damien thinks you're using me. Damien thinks everyone's using everyone. That's how he justifies what he does. What if people never stop thinking it?" Michael set down his toolbox, knelt to her eye level. "Then we'll know something they don't. Which is, that you're worth more than money. That Emily and I were wealthy before we met you in all the ways that matter. That loving you isn't about gaining something, but about recognition. Like finding a song you've been humming without knowing the words." Isabella pulled him in, their first real kiss tasting of tears and promise. Behind them, someone cleared their throat. Richard Sterling stood in the doorway. "Mr. Carter." Michael stood but didn't step away from Isabella. "Mr. Sterling, my security says you're here for an emergency repair?" "Yes, sir. Your daughter needed something fixed." Richard studied them, his daughter's defiant chin, the mechanic's steady stance. "Can you fix it?" "I'm trying. Try harder." Richard turned to leave, paused. And Mr. Carter, next time use the front door. You're not the help anymore. It wasn't acceptance, but it was acknowledgement. After Richard left, Isabella laughed weakly. Did my father just? I think he just gave us the smallest possible blessing. I'll take it. They stayed on the balcony, city sprawling beneath them like possibility. But in the shadows, Damien made phone calls, arranged meetings, set machinery in motion. If Isabella wanted to play detective, he'd give her a mystery. If she wanted to slum with the working class, he'd show her what that really cost. The first invoice discrepancies were already being buried deeper. Shell companies were being registered in Delaware, Nevada, places where ownership was opaque. A plan years in the making was accelerating. Because Damien Cross didn't just want Sterling Industries. He wanted to prove that everyone was buyable, everyone was breakable. Even especially Isabella Sterling, who thought she could rise above her station, the station he'd assigned her the moment she'd lost the use of her legs. Richard Sterling's lawyers arrived at 9 sharp Monday morning. Isabella found herself ambushed in her own office, briefcases opening like mouths ready to devour. A protective audit, Richard explained, not meeting her eyes. Given your new associations. The lead attorney, a woman with steel hair and steel spine, spread documents, Mr. Carter's financial history. 2 mortgages, defaulted, 3 credit cards, maxed. A lien on his vehicle. From his wife's medical bills, Isabella said coldly. Nevertheless, the liability potential, the appearance of impropriety. The appearance? Isabella's voice rose. Or the reality that you can't stand seeing me with someone you consider beneath us. Damien entered then, concern painted on his face. Isabella, we're just trying to protect you. Men in desperate situations. Get out, she said it quietly, but everyone heard the danger. Isabella, Richard started. All of you, out, now. They filed out, leaving the documents. Isabella stared at the numbers Michael's life reduced to debt ratios and risk assessments. Her phone buzzed, Emily's school. Emily had been in another fight, not physical this time, but words that cut deeper. Madison had recruited allies, spreading stories about charity cases and cons. Emily had snapped, shouting truths about Madison's father's affairs, her mother's pills, things overheard but never meant to be repeated. Michael arrived first, still in work clothes. Isabella came straight from her office, finding him in the principal's corridor looking lost. I'm sorry, she said immediately. This is because of us. Don't. His voice was flat. Emily's my responsibility. Michael, your world's poisoning her, teaching her cruelty she didn't know existed. That's not fair. Fair? He laughed bitterly. Your lawyers did a financial colonoscopy on me this morning. Your cousin's kid is calling Emily trash. Where's fair in any of this? Mr. Alvarez emerged with Emily, whose face was blotchy with tears. She ran to Michael, burying her face in his chest. I'm sorry, Dad. I said horrible things. We'll talk at home. He lifted her, avoiding Isabella's eyes. Thank you for coming, but we need space. Isabella watched them leave, something breaking in her chest. Damien's words echoed. This ends badly. That evening, Richard found Isabella in the garden, yanking weeds with unnecessary violence. The lawyers were my idea, he admitted. Damien just supported it. Damien orchestrated it. She threw pulled weeds into a pile. He's been planning something, Dad. The invoices, the shell companies. You're deflecting. This isn't about Damien. Isn't it? She turned on him. He wants the company. He wants me dependent, controllable. And you're helping him. I'm trying to protect you. From what? From love? From someone who sees me as more than a tragedy to manage? Richard's composure finally cracked. From hurt. From someone who'll leave when it gets too hard, when the reality of your situation. My situation? Isabella laughed sharply. You mean my disability? Say it, Dad. Say the word you've been dancing around for 5 years. Fine. Your disability, your limitations, the things that make you vulnerable, the things that make me strong. She met his eyes. I survived losing everything I thought defined me. I rebuilt from nothing. And Michael doesn't see that as inspiration, porn, or tragedy. He sees it as Tuesday. Just another way bodies exist. He's using you. He's the only one who isn't. They stared at each other across years of unspoken grief. Richard had never processed his daughter's accident, only managed it. Isabella had never forgiven him for mourning who she'd been, instead of meeting who she'd become. "If you continue this," Richard said quietly, "there will be consequences. There already are." That night, Isabella went to Michael's apartment. The narrow stairs were hard to navigate, neighbors staring as she bumped her chair up each step. She knocked, heard whispers, then Michael opened the door. "You shouldn't be here." "I know, but we need to talk." He stepped aside. The apartment was clean but worn, everything second-hand but cared for. Emily's homework covered a card table. Photos of Sarah lined one shelf, laughing, living, dying. "Emily's at her friend's," Michael said. "First sleepover since this started. I'm sorry about school, about the lawyers, about all of it." Michael sat heavily. "It's not your fault, but Isabella. Maybe they're right. Look at what this is doing to Emily. She's 8. She shouldn't have to defend her father's character or learn about prenups or... So you're giving up?" "I'm being realistic. Your world and mine, they don't mix without casualties." Isabella moved closer. "Every world has casualties. The question is whether what we're building is worth the fight." "Is it?" Michael looked exhausted. "Because from where I sit, it looks like I'm dragging you down while you're pulling us somewhere we don't belong." "You belong with me." "Do I? Or am I just another project, another problem to solve?" The words stung because they held truth. Isabella had been fixing things her whole life, first herself, then systems, now Michael and Emily. But was that love or control? "I don't know," she admitted. "I know I'm happier with you. I know Emily makes me remember joy. I know your hands don't shake when you touch my chair. But maybe that's not enough." Michael stood, paced to the window. "I made Sarah a promise, to give Emily stability, security. It's the opposite. So what are you saying?" "I'm saying..." He turned, eyes red-rimmed. "I'm saying we stop, before it breaks things that can't be fixed." Isabella felt the words like physical blows. "You're choosing fear over possibility." "I'm choosing my daughter over myself. Wouldn't you?" She had no answer for that. Parents protected. It's what they did, even when protection looked like retreat. "I love you," she said quietly. "Both of you." "I know. That's what makes this impossible." Isabella left the way she'd come, slowly, painfully, each stare a small defeat. In the apartment, Michael stood at the window, watching her struggle with her chair on the uneven sidewalk. Every instinct screamed to help, but help wasn't what she needed. She needed a partner strong enough to weather storms, not someone who folded at the first sign of rain. When Emily came home the next morning, she found him asleep on the couch, fully dressed, Isabella's scarf still in his hand. "Did you fix it, Dad?" "No, baby. Sometimes things break." Emily climbed into his lap, small hands patting his cheeks. "But you always say broken doesn't mean worthless." Michael held his daughter, cried into her hair. "Sometimes, Em. Sometimes it does." But Emily, wiser than her years, whispered, "The porch light's still on, Dad. I can see it from here." 2 weeks passed in parallel grief. Isabella threw herself into work, auditing sterling contracts with obsessive focus. Michael took extra shifts, coming home so tired he could barely help Emily with homework. But Emily wasn't built for surrender. She drew pictures, always 3 figures, always together. She left them places. Michael's lunchbox, Isabella's mail, courtesy of Helen, tucked into library books about famous inventors. Thursday night, Michael answered an emergency call at Sterling Industries. Burst pipe in the basement, flooding the records room. He arrived to find chaos maintenance staff squeegeeing water, boxes of documents soaking. "Mike," the night manager waved him over. "Main valve stuck. Your magic hands needed." Michael descended into mechanical spaces, following pipes through the building's bones. Near the HVAC housing, he heard voices, Damien's unmistakable drawl, and another man, Eastern European accent. Invoice paddings working perfectly, 20% markup, hidden in parts costs. "And Sterling suspects nothing?" the stranger asked. "Isabella's sniffing around, but she's distracted. Love makes people stupid. Besides, after tomorrow's board meeting, she won't have access. Sexual misconduct allegations are hard to disprove, especially when the accuser's in a wheelchair." Michael's blood went cold. "You're framing her?" "Framing suggests lies. I'm merely suggesting that her relationship with the mechanic involves company resources. Consulting fees for personal services. The board will demand her resignation to avoid scandal. And Richard? Richard will be grateful I protected the family reputation. He'll sign over operational control within a month. They moved away, voices fading. Michael stayed frozen, processing. Then, carefully, he photographed everything's serial numbers on supposedly new parts, invoice numbers stacked nearby, the vendor badges left carelessly on a desk. At home, he found Emily awake, sketching at the kitchen table. Couldn't sleep, she said. Dreamed about Isabella. She's in trouble, isn't she? The mean man at her work. Michael never underestimated his daughter's perception. Maybe, probably. So we help her. It's not that simple. Dad. Emily set down her pencil. You always say doing right isn't about easy. It's about necessary. Michael stared at his 8-year-old philosopher. When did you get so wise? When Mom died. Someone had to be. He pulled her close, decision crystallizing. Okay. We help. But carefully. The next morning, Michael called Lily. I need a favor. Meet me, but not at the Sterling place. They met at a coffee shop downtown. Michael spread his evidence photos, invoice patterns he'd tracked, overheard conversations transcribed. This is fraud, Lily said. Massive, systematic fraud. And tomorrow he's going to accuse Isabella of misconduct, sexual or financial, maybe both. Lily's face darkened, using her disability as weapon. Classic. Can we stop it? We need Helen. She sees everything, documents everything. And Lily smiled grimly. She despises Damien. Helen met them that afternoon in a park, away from Sterling surveillance. She carried a tablet, fingers flying across screens. I've been tracking irregularities for months, she admitted. Damien's careful, but not with the little people. Maintenance staff, cleaners, he treats them like furniture. They talk to me. She showed them spreadsheets, dates, patterns. Look, every invoice from these 3 companies matches down to the penny. What are the odds? 0, Michael said. Different suppliers, different parts, exact same markup. And here Helen pulled up security logs. Damien's badge accessing the building at odd hours, always when Isabella's at medical appointments. He's tracking her schedule, Lily realized, planning around her movements. They had pieces but needed a smoking gun. Michael remembered something. The burst pipe. It flooded the records room, but the valve wasn't really stuck. Someone loosened the housing. Destroying evidence? Helen suggested. Or creating distraction. Michael stood. I need to get back in there. Tonight. That's trespassing, Lily warned. Not if I'm invited, he looked at Helen. Can you create a maintenance request? Helen smiled. HVAC irregularity in the executive suite. Urgent priority. That night, Michael entered Sterling Industries legally, officially, toolbox in hand. But instead of the executive suite, he went to Damien's office. The lock was electronic, but Emily had taught him about magnets and circuits during their science projects. Inside, Damien's computer was locked, but paper trails still existed. In a locked drawer, the lock was decorative, really. Michael found it contracts with shell companies, Damien's signature authorizing payments, and worse, a draft press release about Isabella's inappropriate relationship with a vendor and misuse of company resources for personal gain. He photographed everything, then noticed something else: medical records. Isabella's medical records. Psychological evaluations from after her accident, selectively edited to suggest instability. Bastard, Michael breathed. A sound in the corridor. Michael closed everything, slipped out through an adjoining conference room. In the stairwell, he called Lily. Got it, everything. He's planning to destroy her tomorrow. Then we stop him tonight. Call Isabella. She won't take my calls. Then we go to her. They arrived at the Sterling mansion near midnight. Helen let them in, leading them to Isabella's study where she was working, shadows under her eyes. Michael? She looked between them, confused. What? Damien's framing you, Lily said bluntly. Michael found proof. Michael spread the evidence across her desk. Isabella's face went through several changes: shock, rage, then something harder. He has my medical records, my psych evaluations. We stop him, Michael said. Tomorrow's board meeting. I can't go. I'm not scheduled to present. Then we make sure you are, Helen said. Your father still has ultimate authority. If he sees this, he'll think Michael manufactured it to get back in my good graces. Isabella rubbed her temples. We need witnesses, public ones. The whole board, Lily suggested. Make it impossible to bury. Isabella looked at Michael. This could destroy you. Damien has resources, lawyers. He'll come after you. Let him, Michael said. Emily asked me once what matters more, being comfortable or being right. I've been comfortable in my discomfort for 3 years. Time to be right. You could lose everything. I already did. 3 years ago. Everything since has been bonus. He met her eyes, including you. Isabella reached for his hand. I'm scared. Good, means it matters. Emily's voice came from the doorway. Did someone say my name? Michael spun. M? How? Helen called Mrs. Patterson, said it was an emergency. Emily walked in, pajamas and sneakers, holding her sketch pad. Are we fixing things now? Isabella laughed, wet and surprised. Yes, we're fixing things. Emily nodded solemnly, then handed Isabella a drawing. 3 figures holding hands, standing before a crowd, light radiating from them. I drew tomorrow, Emily explained, so we know how it ends. Michael lifted his daughter, looked at the women around him, Isabella, brilliant and brave. Lily, fierce and loyal. Helen, quietly revolutionary. Okay, he said. Let's write tomorrow. They worked through the night, preparing presentations, organizing evidence, crafting a narrative that couldn't be dismissed. As dawn broke, Isabella looked at their assembled proof. He'll destroy us for this. Or, we'll destroy him first, Helen said with surprising steel. Either way, Michael said, we do it together. Isabella squeezed his hand. Together. The board meeting was scheduled for 2 o'clock. At 1:30, Isabella arrived unscheduled, Michael beside her in his only suit, Emily in her school presentation dress. Lily and Helen flanked them. You can't be here, the security guard said apologetically. Mr. Cross's orders. Override them, Isabella said, steel in her voice. Or I call the labor board about those overtime violations you've been documenting. The guard's eyes widened. He'd thought his complaints went unheard. Second-floor conference room. They entered to find the board assembled, Damien at the head of the table, Richard Sterling to his right. Conversation stopped. Isabella, Richard started. This is a closed session. About me, Isabella finished. About allegations of misconduct you were going to discuss without my presence. Damien stood smoothly. Isabella, you're clearly emotional. Perhaps we should. Sit down, Damien. She wheeled forward, Michael placing a laptop on the table. We have evidence to present. This is highly irregular, a board member protested. So is fraud, Isabella said. So is embezzlement. So is stealing medical records. The room erupted. Richard raised his hand for silence. You have 5 minutes. Isabella nodded to Michael, who connected the laptop to the presentation screen. Mr. Carter discovered this accidentally. I verified it thoroughly. The first slide showed the shell companies. 3 HVAC vendors, all registered the same day, same registered agent, all billing Sterling Industries for identical amounts. Competitive pricing, Damien said, but sweat beaded his forehead. With identical serial numbers, Michael advanced slides, showing photographed parts. Same equipment billed 3 times. Helen stepped forward. I've documented Mr. Cross accessing the building during off hours, always when Miss Sterling was at medical appointments. More slide security logs, timestamp correlations. This proves nothing, Damien said, voice rising. A disgruntled employee, a desperate mechanic, and a recorded conversation, Lily said, producing her phone. She'd been recording when Michael called her, capturing his real-time report of Damien's conversation. Damien's voice filled the room. Sexual misconduct allegations are hard to disprove, especially when the accuser's in a wheelchair. Gasps around the table. Richard's face went granite. That's taken out of context, Damien stammered. Then let's add context, Isabella said. The screen showed her medical records, the edited versions from Damien's office. You stole private medical information. You were planning to use my disability as a weapon. You're unstable, Damien snapped, mask finally slipping. The psych evaluations prove it. PTSD, depression, adjustment disorder. From learning to live after my spine was severed, Isabella said calmly. Yes, I have mental health challenges. Yes, I take medication. Yes, I see a therapist. So do 40% of Americans. It doesn't make me incompetent, but it makes you vulnerable, Damien sneered. Susceptible to manipulation. This mechanic saw an opportunity. I saw a woman, Michael interrupted, standing. I saw someone rebuilding herself with more courage than anyone in this room has ever needed. I saw a teacher for my daughter, a partner in problem solving, a person who happens to use wheels instead of legs. How touching, Damien mocked. The poor widower and the crippled heiress. The room went silent. Even Damien realized he'd crossed a line. Emily stood on her chair. You're a bad man. And bad men always think everyone else is bad too because they can't imagine being good. Control your child, Damien snarled at Michael. No, Richard Sterling said quietly. She's right. Everyone turned to him. I've been a fool, Richard continued, so concerned with protecting Isabella that I forgot to see her. So afraid of her being hurt that I let you hurt her worse. He looked at Damien. You're fired. Effective immediately. You can't. I have contracts. Which you violated the moment you committed fraud. Richard stood. Security will escort you out. Our lawyers will be in touch. Damien grabbed his briefcase, rage distorting his features. This isn't over. I know things. Then say them, Isabella challenged. Say all of it, in court, under oath. Damien looked around the room, finding no allies. Even board members who'd supported him were distancing themselves, recognizing the legal liability he represented. As security arrived, Damien made one last attempt. She'll never be what she was. You're all enabling a delusion. No, Isabella said. I'll never be what I was. I'll be what I am. A woman who survived, a woman who adapts, a woman who loves and is loved. That's not a delusion. That's evolution. Security led Damien out. The room stayed silent until his footsteps faded. Then Richard crossed to Isabella. I'm sorry, for all of it. He turned to Michael. You protected my daughter when I failed to. I protected someone I love, Michael corrected. Your daughter protected herself. Richard extended his hand. Michael shook it. There's still the matter of the fraud, a board member said. The legal ramifications. I'll handle it, Isabella said. Full audit, prosecution where warranted, restitution to the company. That could take months, another member worried. Then it takes months, Richard said. Isabella leads the investigation with full board support. The vote was unanimous. As the meeting dissolved, board members approached Michael and Isabella with apologies, congratulations, awkward attempts at connection. Emily charmed them all, explaining her drawings of accessible buildings with the confidence of someone who'd been heard. Later, in the parking lot, the five of them stood in exhausted victory. We did it, Lily said, disbelieving. You did it, Isabella corrected. All of you. Helen checked her watch. I need to supervise dinner service, but tomorrow we celebrate properly. As she left, Lily hugged Isabella. You know what this means? You're free, both of you. After Lily departed, the Carters and Isabella remained. Emily was asleep on her feet, leaning against Michael. Come home with us, Michael said. Just come home. Isabella looked at their beat-up truck, Emily drowsing against her father, the ordinary beauty of it. Yes, she said, home. The drive was quiet, Emily sleeping across their laps in the bench seat. When they arrived at the apartment, Michael carried Emily, while Isabella navigated the stairs she'd climbed weeks ago in defeat, now climbing in victory. Inside, he tucked Emily into bed while Isabella waited in the living room, looking at Sarah's photos. She was beautiful, Isabella said when Michael returned. She was, inside and out. Do you think she'd approve? Of us? Michael pulled Isabella close. I think she'd say I took too long. They stayed there, holding each other, no words needed. Outside, dawn was breaking. Inside, something new was beginning, not despite their breaks and wounds, but because of how they'd chosen to heal them. Together. Number, Part 10. Repair and Reconciliation. The investigation took 6 weeks. Isabella led it with meticulous precision, uncovering 18 months of systematic fraud. Damien had stolen nearly $2 million, planning to bankrupt Sterling Industries during a crucial merger, then swoop in as savior with mysteriously available capital. Michael consulted on the audit, his mechanical knowledge proving invaluable in identifying false invoices. They worked side by side, rebuilding trust in mundane tasks, spreadsheets, serial numbers, coffee runs. "We're good at this," Isabella said one evening, surrounded by bankers' boxes. "At forensic accounting?" "At partnership. Real partnership." Michael looked up from an invoice. "We are. When we remember to be." The conversation they'd been avoiding finally surfaced. "I hurt you," Isabella said, "when I pulled away. I chose fear over faith. We both did. I left you to climb those stairs alone. Literally or metaphorically." "Both." Isabella moved closer. "I need you to understand something. My disability isn't going away. There'll be bad days, pain, frustration, limitations. I won't be miraculous cured. I don't want you cured. I want you here, as you are. And Emily? This affects her too. Emily understands bodies better than most adults. She knows they're just containers. It's what we carry inside that matters." That evening, Emily joined them for dinner at the mansion. Helen had prepared lasagna comfort food for complicated times. "Isabella," Emily said suddenly, "are you going to marry Dad?" Michael choked on water. Isabella patted his back, amused. "Would that be okay with you?" Isabella asked. Emily considered. "Mom told me before she died that Dad would find someone new. She said I'd know they were right if they made him laugh again." "Do I make him laugh?" "Every day, even when you're not here. He laughs at texts you send." Michael covered his face. "Emily, we talked about oversharing. It's important data," Emily said seriously. Later, Richard arrived unexpectedly. The four of them sat awkwardly around the kitchen table, wealth and poverty sharing space. "I've been seeing a therapist," Richard announced. "About everything. Isabella's accident, my wife's death, my need to control." Isabella reached for his hand. "Dad, let me finish. Michael, I judged you unfairly. Not just your economic status, but what you represented. You were proof that Isabella didn't need my protection. That perhaps my protection was actually harm." "We all protect what we love," Michael said. "Sometimes badly, but with good intentions." "Yes, but impact matters more than intention," Richard looked at Emily. "Your father's raising you to understand that. I wish I'd learned it sooner." Emily, wise beyond years, said, "It's never too late to learn. We studied neuroplasticity. Brains can always make new connections." Richard laughed, surprising everyone. "Quite right." As he left, Richard paused. "There's a gala next month. Sterling Foundation's annual fundraiser. I'd like you all to attend, as family." The implications hung in the air. "We'll be there," Isabella said. The weeks passed with cautious healing. Emily's school situation improved, Mr. End. Alvarez had facilitated restorative conversations. Madison Sterling had apologized grudgingly, but genuinely, and Emily had learned to navigate conflict with grace. Michael's work evolved. What had started as accessibility consulting became a full-position director of inclusive design. He was building a team, implementing changes across all Sterling properties. "Your management now," Isabella teased. "Suit and everything." "2 suits," Michael corrected. Emily insisted on options. One evening, they returned to the park where they'd first met. The same bench, the same trees, but everything transformed. "I have something for you," Michael said, producing a small wrapped box. Isabella opened it carefully. Inside was a key. "To what?" "The house on Maple Street, the one with the ramp you designed. I bought it." "Michael, you can't afford." "I used Sarah's life insurance. I've been saving it for something that mattered. This matters." Isabella held the key, understanding its weight. A house. A home. With wide doorways, an accessible kitchen, a workshop where you can build. Emily's already planned her room. "You planned this without me? I planned it for us. But if you're not ready..." Isabella kissed him, stopping words. "I'm ready. For all of it." They were married 6 months later, not at the Sterling mansion, but in the park where they'd met. Isabella's chair was decorated with white roses Emily had chosen. Michael wore his good suit. Emily stood as witness, holding rings she'd helped design. The ceremony was small. Richard, Helen, Lily, Mr. Alvarez, a few others who'd become family through choice rather than blood. Isabella had designed the space herself, ramps that looked like art, paths smooth enough for wheels, rough enough for grip. Richard walked his daughter down the aisle, then placed her hand in Michael's. "Take care of each other," he said simply. The vows were their own. "Michael, I promise to see you not despite your wheels, but with them, as part of the complete picture of who you are. I promise to build ramps where there are stairs, but never to push your chair without asking. I promise to love you in motion and stillness, in strength and struggle. Isabella, I promise to let you help without making you my hero. I promise to be your partner, not your project. I promise to show Emily that families aren't broken by loss, but built by what we choose to create from it." Emily read a poem she'd written about wheels and wings, how both moved forward, just differently. As they kissed, sun broke through clouds that had threatened rain. The photographer captured it perfectly, 3 figures in golden light, wheels and feet together, facing forward. The reception was at the new house. The ramp was strung with lights, the accessible garden blooming with plants Emily had chosen. Music played, people danced, and Isabella showed that wheelchairs could dance too, spinning Emily until they both laughed breathless. "No regrets?" Lily asked Michael, as they watched Isabella teaching Emily a modified waltz. "Only that it took so long to find her. Sarah would be proud." "I hope so." Helen approached with champagne, a toast to families that choose themselves. They raised glasses, even Emily with her apple juice. That night, after guests had gone and Emily was asleep, Michael and Isabella sat on their porch, her chair beside his bench, hands linked. "The porch light's on," Isabella said. "Emily will be pleased. She's been drawing it for months. She knew before we did. Kids usually do." They sat in comfortable silence, listening to night sounds, feeling the weight of rings still new on their fingers. "Thank you," Isabella said. "For what?" "For seeing me. Not the inspiration story, not the tragedy, not the disability, just me. Thank you for being worth seeing." Isabella laughed. "We're really bad at taking compliments. We'll practice. We have time. All the time we need." Inside, Emily stirred, called out from a dream. They went to her together, Michael walking, Isabella rolling, moving in practiced synchronization. Emily was sitting up, not distressed, just awake. "I dreamed about Mom," she said. "She said to tell you good job." Michael's throat tightened. Isabella squeezed his hand. "She also said the porch light looks perfect from where she island." They tucked Emily back in, kissed her forehead, returned to their room. On the dresser sat 3 photos, Sarah laughing, Isabella dancing, and a new one from today, the 3 of them together, officially family. "Ready for tomorrow?" Michael asked. "With you, ready for anything." 1 year later, the Sterling Foundation's Accessibility Gala celebrated its most successful fundraising ever. The venue, a Sterling property Michael had personally redesigned, showcased universal design at its finest. Ramps curved like sculpture, elevators were art installations, and every space welcomed every body. Isabella delivered the keynote from her chair, wearing the deep blue dress Emily had helped choose. She spoke about evolution, adaptation, and the radical act of accepting help without surrendering agency. "Disability isn't a tragedy to overcome," she said. "It's a reality to integrate. We all have limitations. Some are just more visible than others." Michael watched from the side, Emily on his shoulders despite being almost too big for it. She wore her junior architect badge, having spent the morning explaining accessible design to curious donors. "That's my mom," Emily told anyone who'd listen. "She builds bridges where there used to be walls." Richard Sterling worked the room with new purpose, having restructured the foundation to prioritize accessibility initiatives. He'd also started dating Helen, a development that surprised everyone except Emily, who'd been leaving strategic drawings around for months. "You're matchmaking now?" Michael had asked her. "I'm optimizing happiness," Emily replied, which was pure Isabella influence. Lily had expanded her practice, consulting with other families navigating disability and relationships. She brought a date tonight, a pediatric surgeon who used a prosthetic leg and made Emily laugh with stories about cyborg superpowers. As the evening progressed, Damien's replacement, a woman named Chen who'd started as a junior analyst, presented the quarterly report. Sterling Industries had not only recovered from the fraud but flourished, the accessibility initiatives opening new markets. "Turns out," Chen said, "when you build for everyone, everyone builds with you." During the reception, Madison Sterling approached Emily, nervous but determined. "I'm sorry," she said, "about before. I was wrong." Emily considered this. Wrong about what specifically? About your dad, about Isabella, about a lot of things. Okay, want to see my bridge designs? And just like that, another small repair in the world's fabric. The evening's surprise came when Mr. Alvarez took the stage. I have someone who wants to say something. Emily walked up, confident despite the crowd. Michael started forward, but Isabella caught his hand. Let her. Hi, Emily said into the microphone. I'm Emily Carter. A year ago, my dad was sad all the time. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Then he met Isabella, and the smiles became real again. But people said mean things. They said he wanted her money, or she was settling, or we didn't belong together. The room was silent. But belonging isn't about matching. It's about choosing. We chose each other. And Isabella didn't fix us, we weren't broken. She just turned our porch light back on. She looked directly at Michael and Isabella. Mom told me before she died that love isn't about finding perfect people. It's about finding people whose imperfect fits with yours, like puzzle pieces. So thank you, Isabella, for being our missing piece. And thank you, everyone, for seeing that different doesn't mean less. There wasn't a dry eye in the room. Isabella was openly crying, Michael not far behind. Emily ran to them, group hug happening naturally despite the chair, despite the crowd, despite everything that had tried to keep them apart. Later, as the gala wound down, they escaped to the accessible rooftop garden Michael had designed. City lights sparkled below, but the stars were visible too balance of earth and sky. Did you coach her? Isabella asked. Number. That was all Emily. We're raising someone remarkable. We are. Isabella traced the constellation of Cassiopeia, 5 stars. Like us, you, me, Emily, Sarah's memory, and whatever comes next. What does come next? Michael asked. Isabella placed his hand on her stomach. We'll find out in about 7 months. Michael's world stopped, restarted, exploded in joy. We're pregnant. Yes. Lily's been helping me navigate the medical aspects. It's complicated with my injury, but possible. If you're ready. Ready, Isabella? I'm. He knelt beside her chair, hands framing her face. I'm honored. Terrified, but honored. Same. Emily, who'd been suspiciously quiet, said, I already knew. I heard you talking to Lily. And you didn't say anything? You needed to tell Dad when you were ready, but I've been drawing nursery designs. Want to see? They laughed, because of course she had. Emily pulled out her phone, showing sketches of cribs at adjustable heights, changing tables Isabella could roll under, a whole nursery designed for a parent in a wheelchair. You're going to be an incredible big sister, Isabella said. I learned from Mom. She said siblings are friends you don't get to choose but love anyway. As the evening ended, they made their way home their accessible house on Maple Street, with its art ramp and Emily's garden and the workshop where Isabella designed buildings that everyone could enter. Inside, they found a surprise. Helen and Richard had decorated for a small after-party. Lily was there, Mr. Alvarez, Chen from work, even Madison Sterling with her parents, who were trying to understand this new world where wheels and feet moved together. To family, Richard toasted. However, it's built. To bridges, Lily added. However, they're crossed. To wheels and wings, Emily contributed. Both get you where you're going. They celebrated until late, Emily falling asleep on the couch between stories. As guests left, each offered something: a hug, a promise, a recognition of what had been built here. Finally alone, the Carter family, Isabella had kept her name professionally, but taken it personally, sat in their living room. Sarah's photo was still on the mantle, now joined by their wedding picture, and Emily's latest family portrait, 4 figures this time. One just a suggestion of possibility. The porch light's still on, Emily mumbled, half asleep. Always, Michael promised. For everyone who needs it, Isabella added. They sat together as rain began to fall, gentle this time, watering Emily's garden, drumming peaceful rhythms on their roof. In Isabella's womb, new life grew. In their home, love had taken root and bloomed into something unbreakable. Not despite their wounds and wheels and widowed hearts, but because of how they'd chosen to heal together, honestly, with grace for imperfection and faith in tomorrow. The rain stopped. Stars appeared. And somewhere, Sarah smiled, knowing her family was complete, not replaced, but expanded. The porch light glowed steady in the darkness, a beacon for anyone who'd forgotten that broken doesn't mean worthless, that different doesn't mean less, that love isn't about saving someone, but about choosing to build something together. Wheels and wings, both heading home. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to remember that love isn't about perfection. It's about choosing to build something beautiful from whatever pieces you have. Together, we can turn on more porch lights.